Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope that you're enjoying season 5 so far. We've had some pretty good guests, so if you've missed any episodes, please go back and listen to those. Today, it's like no other. We have a special guest, but this time we have two special guests. I don't think I've ever had two guests at the same time before. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Liz Rennie, and I one half of Growing Up Lowcountry with Liz and Danny, and this is
Danny Foxworth, the other half of Growing Up Lowcountry with Liz and Danny. Terrence, thank you so much for having us on.
Oh
yes.
man, I appreciate you all coming on. Yeah. So
Well,
how have you been?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Doing all right, man. Glad the sun's coming out. Glad it's getting cool.
Yeah, no
Yes.
kidding, man.
And that tide, I don't know if y'all saw that 8.5-foot tide, just swamped everything down
Are
here.
you
Is
serious?
this in
Wow.
Yeah,
is
I'm
this
in
in
parts.
Charleston?
Yeah, downtown. It was a mess earlier, and but that's the good thing about tide. It comes in, but it'll go back out.
That's true.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you who are not familiar, Danny's been on the show before, and this is Liz's first time on. And I want to have them on here just to talk about growing up in the Low Country. I grew up in the Low Country, and I have to say this is one of my favorite podcasts because it takes me into a state of nostalgia, and I go down memory lane. How did you two meet?
Go ahead,
We
Danny.
met in First Baptist Church daycare back when we were 4 years old. So our friendship literally is going 40 years now. Yeah.
And I feel like, the universe gives you a finite amount of childhood friends. And I just lucked out that Danny was literally among my very first friends that I met on my own, and we've just never lost touch.
That
Yeah.
and it's very rare to hear that because sad to say a lot of people fall out of touch for whatever reasons, arguments, disagreements, or just distance or just getting busy. And the fact that you all have had this friendship for that long is it's pretty amazing. I haven't some friends for that long, but just when I hear about other people having friendships for that long, it's refreshing to know that friendships still exist.
Yes, indeed. And I tell you what, she's been going to bat for me ever since daycare. Actually, just a quick story. We used to have nap time at the daycare, and what I would do is I would make sure that Liz would be tucked in properly. And Miss Geraldine, she was one of the assistants at the daycare center, and she was a rattlesnake. She was a quite the mean lady, and she basically would smack my hand whenever she saw me get up to go tuck Liz in. And Liz, she basically started a revolt at at the daycare center. And Liz, if you care to share that particular instance.
Yeah, so little Danny was being so sweet, and I was a big child, and he was always sad that the little blanket didn't cover me all the way. So he'd come over and be so helpful. And then Miss Geraldine fussed at him and called him up, and she had one of those rulers. She was going to wrap his hand with it. And I started chanting, "You can't spank Danny." And then all the other kids started, "You can't spank Danny." And so that's been a motto of our friendship for 40 years.
Man, I remember those times where you could get a spanking in school. It didn't
Man,
matter what school you went to.
for anything. And they didn't check with anybody first. It was just a popping.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was a low country thing or a South Carolina thing, but when I tell people that who aren't from here, they just look at me with like shock, and I'm like, yeah, that was an actual thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So fast forward to adulthood and the podcast. How did that come about?
So I have a podcast called Since We Last Spoke with Danny Foxworth. And I got to give all the credit in the world to our mutual friend, Liz Newsom. She was the person that really suggested that I have Liz as a guest on the podcast. She was like, she just left a comment in the Facebook, or she posted on my Facebook wall. She said, I mean, since the two of you are y'all each other's first friend, I mean, it's only right that you have her as a guest on your podcast. And I'm like, you know what? That is a great point. And so I reached out to Liz. I was like, would you like to be a guest? She was like, sure. And I'll tell you what, that was such an awesome, that's still to this day one of my favorite episodes. And if I'm not mistaken, it is the most downloaded episode of Since We Last Spoke. So apparently the people love it too. And a lot of our fellow classmates were giving a lot of great feedback, and which led to our also mutual friend slash classmate Curtis Smith. He hit us up in the DMs not long after, and he said, "Man, I could listen to you and Liz talk about like whatever for hours." And he said, "Have y'all ever thought about having your own podcast?" And I'm like, you know what? Never really given it much thought, but you know what? I'm open to the ideas if she's open to it. And so I reached out to her. She was like, let's do it. And so that's how Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny started.
So, Liz, what was your experience like when you came on the show? Have you ever been on a podcast before? Did you know what to expect?
No, I was completely green, and Danny showed me the ropes, and he set everything up. I learned a whole lot really fast because it was just like, here you go. This is how we do it. And but I don't know. You probably tell this about Danny if y'all know each other, but something that I've always loved about Danny is he is so curious, naturally curious about things, and not in a and maybe this stems from the fact that we've known each other since we were babies. Like our natural default setting is to like figure things out and like be curious in the world together because that's how you are when you're a kid. And when you meet back up like with that person who was your original explorer friend to figure things out, like it comes really naturally just to be curious about stuff. So we get into all kinds of topics, and he kind of sets the schedule for the episode, and I just follow his lead.
So, the name of the show, Growing Up Lowcountry. Why?
Why not? I mean, I got to get, and again, I got to give credit to Curtis Smith, the aforementioned Curtis Smith. He was the one that came up with the name of the podcast, and him giving up and him giving all those suggestions and great ideas. If I'm not mistaken, he was one of our first guests on our podcast as well. And it was really cool. Again, just learning a lot of things that I just wasn't familiar with him. So I got to give all the credit to Curtis Smith with really being the brainchild behind Growing Up Low Country with Liz and Danny. So shout out to you, Curtis.
Yeah, and I always joke that our target audience is people who were born in Berkeley County between 1977 and 1982. But it does reach more than that, and I think you're right, Terrence. About people can see that it's just a genuine show of us just talking off the cuff, and I think that tends to translate pretty well. I hope so. And it is all about low country stuff like the Piggly Wiggly, Sonny Goldberg, all kinds of
Yes.
very specific memories that if you grew up around here, yes, you know what we're talking about. If not, you might need to Google.
Yeah, that's that Sonny Goldberg moment is still my favorite thing to ever happen to that podcast because
Yeah.
it's like we were like it's like muscle memory basically because I hadn't heard that commercial like since high school, and it's like we both said "Go Sonny, go Sonny Goldberg" at the same exact time, and I'm like, this is meant to be.
Hey, my wife and I, she's from a low country too, and we do that same thing. We just bust out with it. And I remember the first time I did it, she joined right along.
I love it.
I recently was in Monk's Corner, and I have to say that that was the first time that I have been in Monk's Corner going down 17, probably since college. Like I noticed it just felt different because for one, the road was wider and there were some things that were still there, some things that weren't. I normally go to Monk's Corner, I go down 52. And I think the
Mhm.
last time I've been that way is I went to the juice bar one time. But like what was like growing up in that area for you two?
Um, Go ahead, Danny.
Oh, I was. No, don't let me get in the way.
Well, I grew up outside a lot, hunting and fishing, playing all kinds of ball, basketball, softball, tennis, all the balls, and just riding bikes and being in the woods, really, and out on had a canoe and just put in when you're like 7 years old, just going for it. A lot of freedom, whole lot of freedom.
And for me, I just grew up out literally out in the woods. Just a lot of quiet, a lot of playing basketball, a lot of just racing, getting on the BMX bikes and just kicking up a lot of dust and coming home looking like Pigpen and just going to Piggly Wiggly with my papa. He would get his 12 pack of Pepsi and his Carolina Pride bologna. Man, I would not change those memories for anything.
One thing I remember about that area, the Scotsman gas station, I didn't see it there anymore. Do those still exist?
Yeah, there's one still amongst corner on Main Street.
Down by
Okay,
the park.
okay, 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 okay. Because I said next time I go down there, man, I'm just going to take the time to kind of ride around and see if anything comes back and if anything's familiar. But I think the last time, like I said, I was down that way, it might have been college. I do remember that I played in a basketball tournament. It was like a little summer league thing at Berkeley Middle School, and we it was a 3-on-3 tournament, and we actually won that time we went there. And the odd thing about it is I'm the only person on our team that remembers. I had the T-shirt as proof for a while, but it got so old that it tore up.
We believe you.
Thank you, thank you. One of the things that you all brought up and have brought up in your show is some of our loved restaurants, and I
Oh yeah.
remember Po Folks. Like that
Yes,
was the thing, and that Po Folks on Main Street in Somerville. I remember. What is it, Chinatown now? Yeah,
I believe so.
where the Chinatown is the Chinatown. It's the big. It looks like an actual Chinese building.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, that used to be poor folks in Somerville, right? But um, they when they took over, they had a fire, and then they built it from the ground up to what it is now. So
Huh.
in the sake of what we're talking about when it comes to po folks, like what do you guys remember from po folks as maybe like your favorite meal?
the clam strips. Clam strip me all day. That was my favorite. Clam strips with the crinkle cut fries.
Yeah.
I was gonna have the country fried steak, and if that wasn't enough fried stuff, I also have fried okra and then mashed potatoes and gravy. Because my family didn't do mashed potatoes and gravy. That was a going out thing.
For me, the go-to was the drumstick. I remember the drumstick. I remember mashed potatoes and gravy, and that corn that came in that little bowl with the butter, and you would
Oh my
spin it
God.
around to get all the butter on there.
Yes. Oh, what a just a glorious gluttonous time. Man, you peeled the scab back talking about the corn on the cob. Oh man. That was some good eating right there.
Hey, I think that's where my love for corn on the cob started. Was at Po Folks.
Hey, good
See
move.
your
I
love
think
for
my love
butter.
for corn y- yeah, my love for corn on the cob started at the church's chicken on Rivers Avenue.
Oh yeah, yeah, man, you taking it back. Do you two remember Granny's?
Yes.
Was that a place
Yes.
that you two ever visited?
My mom used to go there every Friday when she got off of work. It was one on Main Street in Somerville. And she would get the country fried steak and then she would get the big box of the cinnamon raisin rolls. What are you doing to me, Terrence?
I forgot about the cinnamon raisin rolls. Yeah, because I
Yes.
always remember the country fried steak because that was my go to. Like the chicken was
Mm.
cool, but that country fried steak, it was something about it. And you get it with the mashed potatoes and that gravy. And sometimes when that gravy run off on the steak,
Mm. Well, Holly's Fried Chicken was our Friday night go-to that was on Main Street, Monk's Corner.
Ooh,
yeah.
good call. I forgot all about Hollies.
The
Yeah.
hard the hardest 10 minutes of your week, or that was when you put the chicken in the car till you had to get home and your stomach was just eating its own self because it smelled so good. had to
Yeah,
Yeah.
we. I don't think we ever went to Holly's. Red Robin was our go-to.
I've been to
oh,
Holly's. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Never been to
well,
Red Robin until I became an adult and it became like popular, but yeah.
Red Robin was the first place I took my now husband when we were dating, when we were going back home to meet my family. We stopped there just to catch our breath, and like let me prep him a little bit more. And he's a tall man. And so we're sitting there, and this little boy gets sent over from his family's table, and he's like, "Hey, what size shoe do you wear?" And like, not hello, really, like, it's just. And Casey, my husband's not from the Low Country, and he's like, and but I was like, "You don't understand, honey. Like, they've recognized you are a person. They don't know your people. They don't know where you're from. So he's just trying to get some information, and he's going to figure out like how friendly you are." So in case he gave him all his answered all his questions, but it was just funny. It was like you didn't even make it to my family, but just random people at the Red Robin are going to interrogate you because they know you aren't from here.
And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Like, it's so different now compared to when we were growing up. Um, I live in Colombia now, and I moved back home for a little bit. But it's so different now in the way of it's so many people that aren't from here, and I think that, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this. It feels like at in some places, it feels like that hospitality and that southern charm and the kindness is missing in some areas.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. And specifically in Charleston, with it being such a touristy destination, I get a lot of the like lack of what you were just talking about from a lot of the tourists. I mean, they just a lot like they just on personal experience. They don't speak. They love hogging up the sidewalk. You hold the door for them. They don't say thank you. I'm like, who raised y'all? But yeah, that's my experience.
What about you,
Yeah.
Liz?
Well, so I'm in cut like I do sales, customer service, and like running a small business. So I'm on the phone a lot with people, and as soon as they hear my voice, or I mean, I also have an 843 number, but I can tell if they're not from around here too. So I have a lot of discussions about it with people, and sometimes people will come on really strong and be really demanding. And with what I do, I sell mattresses. So usually they've moved to Charleston recently, and I'll say, "Listen, what attracted you to Charleston?" "Oh, it's so beautiful. We love the culture and the pace." I was like, "Exactly. You like the pace here, so please don't come down and try to change it. Like, you moved here because you want something different. So let's not try to make it exactly like where you're from."
Right.
I agree because I remember like growing up, it felt like there wasn't a porch you passed or a person in the yard who didn't wave, no
Hmm.
matter
That's
where you
true.
were. It's just
That's
like
so true.
that hand would go up.
And
And
that
not
might be a game, like a true, because if you're in a higher populated area, your arm will fall off if you wave at everybody. But
That's a good point.
in a smaller town, you take the time to do that for sure.
Yeah, because it's like some like Danny, like you said, some people will be like right by you and they won't speak back. And it's just, yeah, it was weird. It was a culture shock. It was a guy I went to high school with, and I remember it was a couple years after I graduated from high school. I saw him at Outback, as a matter of fact, by the mall, by Northwoods Mall. He was just telling me how, it's a little different now and it's a lot of people that aren't from here, so it feels different. And I didn't get what he was saying until I actually moved back for a while, and I was like, yeah, it is different. And one of the things that was different for me is like how the traffic is, and not as far as like as many people on the road, but the now South Carolina has always had horrible driving, but it's like the driving is worse times 10.
Yeah, I came back
That's
from
true.
North Carolina 4 o'clock this morning because I had to be somewhere by 8, and I needed to give myself enough time. And we were doing all right, but then 3 wrecks between Somerville and North Charleston this morning. I mean, come on, just. And they just passed. I mean, I tell people from other states, like literally 2 weeks ago, they passed the law where you can't have your phone on you while you're driving.
Yes.
Everybody else did that before us.
Yeah.
Everybody. I think
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. It's just because I remember like when we lived down there being an accident. Like seemed like every morning there was
Mhm.
an accident. And I'm like, every morning? It became to the point to where if you like being late to work wasn't like, oh my gosh, you're late to work. It was just like, we're glad you made it here and you weren't in that accident that was holding everybody up. Cause a
Yeah.
weird
That's the
story.
truth.
Yeah, because a weird story is one time we had a new employee coming and we were trying to figure out if he, was late because of the accident. And we ended up finding out that he was in the actual accident that happened.
Oh,
Yeah, and we were like, "Wow!" And thankfully he was okay. And after a while, he was able to start. But it was just like that sort of thing. Just there being an accident just shouldn't be normal.
Mm-mm.
Traffic. I mean, you can't avoid traffic, but an accident like every morning, it's
You
just
know,
I don't know. That's go ahead.
well, and I have some solutions if anybody wants to hear them.
Yes,
One,
please, please.
One, invest in public transportation and infrastructure. Two, we in Charleston we have school choice, which means if your child, even if you live on Sullivan's, you can choose to send your child to a school on Johns Island, which not only hurts our neighborhoods and makes it a less cohesive neighborhood because when we were coming up, your mamas and dad, everybody knew each other because we all lived around the same areas and we all went to the same schools. When you're ping ponging kids all over creation, that's terrible for the traffic, terrible for the camaraderie. Anyway, I got answers, but nobody listens to them.
Hey, I agree. I remember when Cane Bay was first being built, coming home one weekend, my parents were telling me they were building a new neighborhood with a new high school. And I was like, for real? And they took me by there and I was like, wow. And this is kind of like what I was talking about when we had the pre-show, because I went to Stratford, you two went to Berkeley. The football teams are now looking different down in the Low Country because some of the kids who would have gone to Stratford and Berkeley now go to Cane Bay
Hmm.
yeah,
because of the growth. It's just it's weird to see like when they built Nexton, and I'm just like, this is so, I don't know, it's almost like being in the twilight zone because it's like these areas that
yeah,
used to be woods are now, you name it,
Thousands of homes.
developments, houses, restaurants. It's just wow. Like growing up in the Low Country, I think that we have an appreciation for like just how simple life was, and we can enjoy things like you both said, being out in the woods. I was a child that was always out in the woods when I could be outside anytime I could be. I'm still like that as an adult. You catch me outside. If something's going on, and I'm inside, what's going on the back patio. I'm going out to sea. I love being around the water. I love being around trees, but they're taking the trees away, and it seems like the easiness is going with it. And of course, it is what you make it. But like, what's one thing that you remember from childhood that's no longer here that you wish was still here?
oh, that's a fantastic question. Stardust Skate Center.
That's mine too.
I miss Stardust so much. And I'll be just full disclosure, I cannot skate to save my life, but it was just a place that I always enjoyed being on Sunday nights. Just being in the in the company of good people and my family. We'd all get together sometimes when we go there, and I go hit up the arcade. And yeah, that's the first thing on my list is Stardust. I miss Stardust. I miss man, I didn't realize the Regal 18 was gone until like fairly recently because I don't really
Yeah.
go to movies like that. And I was like, you know what? I think I'll go check something out. Let's see what's going on at the Regal 18. And it's not even there anymore. It's like townhouses.
I
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
when on earth did this happen?
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact, I remember when they were talking about tearing that down. I was still living down there then, and I had so many great memories at that movie theater. Even going back further than that was the mall that was over there. Like,
Charlestown Square.
yes, if
Yep.
you couldn't find a pair of shoes at Northwoods Mall, you could always jump over there and find a pair of shoes there or whatever. But even that, like that whole area, one place that's not, and I'll let you answer the question, Liz. One place doesn't seem to ever is going to go anywhere is that Red Lobster.
Yes.
I have been going to that Red Lobster since I was little, and anytime I come home, I always seem to find my way over there. That's one of my wife's favorite restaurants. But that Red Lobster, I don't. They must have something going on with the city because that Red Lobster, I don't see that going anywhere.
Yeah, it's right across the street from the city complex. And they have a new young CEO who's really taken them to the next level, apparently. I was just reading about that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hmm. Oh, I miss the Berkeley restaurant in Monk's Corner. It was in our family had paid tab monthly, so like we would eat there several times a week, and then we got a monthly bill at the end of the month.
So that was the
Really?
yeah. So that was the regular setup, or you all were special and had it like
Well,
that.
my dad did work there when he
Okay.
was in high school and college, so I don't know if that was some, but we also did that at Howard's restaurant. I mean, that's how, like, and Danny knows this, and my mama knows this, so I'm not talking out of turn. Mama's not a great cook. She had so many other wonderful talents, but we ate a lot.
And that's one of the things that, like you were saying earlier, Liz, like everybody knew everybody. So that
Mm.
was a trusted thing that you can do. It's like, I know they're good for it and they'll be back in here. So,
We know where they live. They're not going anywhere.
right?
Yeah. A monthly bill. I didn't know you could do that, man.
Right.
That's a whole nother level. That's aspirational right there.
Danny, I bet they do that for you at Lola in Park Circle.
You know what? I'm working on that.
Hey,
Goals.
I love Lola.
Speak that
Yeah.
into
One of the things I wanted to ask you all is the location for the podcast. Whose idea was that? I love that backdrop and the setup you all have. Whose idea was it to say like, hey, let's just do the podcast together instead of because I have another podcast, well, two other podcasts, but we do ours remotely because well, we don't live in the same state, but still, what made you all say that you wanted to get on location and do this podcast? I think it's pretty dope how you all. I mean, it just adds to the vibe because I'm a person who mostly listens to podcasts on Spotify. But Danny, with your podcast, I find myself going to YouTube and watching them. And when the first time I saw that setup, I was like, man, this is cool. So whose idea was that? And after that first time you all did it click like, yeah, we need to keep doing this?
for the most part, I would say yes. I'm not exactly sure if that was a mutual agreement, like if it was a mutual thing, as far as like meeting up at one house because we just do it once a month at her house. And I saw that backdrop. I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is perfect. And also, I just love the element of having two people in the same in the same room in the same at the same time. And for me, that adds like a more, I won't say authentic, but it just like the synergy is much more. It's different. I'll say that, and I mean the different like in a very good way, because you don't have like you're not in remote locations and you're just bouncing ideas off of each other. Like the thoughts just seems like the thoughts come more organic when you're both in the same room. And also, I always look forward to it because, again, this is my first friend ever in life. We intentionally do it once a month so we can go out and experience life, and then we can, whenever we come back, we can catch up on what we did in the interim. So, and that's one of the things that I always look forward to the most with the podcast.
Well, yeah, and that backdrop is a Patch Whiskey piece of art that I actually traded for that. I traded a mattress for that. So that I love that piece of art by Patch. And but yeah, I look forward to it every month, and my family really looks forward to it because Danny stays for supper after, and the kids can't wait to catch up with Mr. Danny, and when Casey can be with us too, it's just like a little homecoming.
Yes, always a great time.
And I love that. That adds to the authenticity of your show because that is the essence of growing up low country. Like we commune, we got together and we always broke bread with our neighbors, friends, you name it. And that's one of the elements that really makes the show what it is. If anybody listening to this, please go check it out on YouTube. Like, just seeing that, it just puts you in the vibe. And when you have guests, it just puts you in the vibe. And I mean, I dig it, man. I'm inspired to try to do at least one show with the guests sitting beside me. We'll see, but yeah.
Yeah,
Terrence,
those are always fun.
Danny jokes that we could keep the podcast rolling through dinner, but put that behind the paywall because that's when
Hey,
you.
Yes,
I'm pretty sure the
because then it's
conversations really get going once that once the food comes out.
oh yeah, oh yeah. We got to get a Patreon for that.
Nice, nice. One thing I wanted to ask you all, when it comes to like your topics, like is there like a beforehand discussion, and has there ever been a time where you two had like a plan for how the show was going to go and it went completely a different way?
Normally, what I'll do is I'll just compile the show notes and then I'll text it to her, and then that's what it is. No, sometimes whenever we have a guest, I'll think about some show topics, but I'll tend to back away from the table because like the show topics wouldn't, to me, it wouldn't really flow with the natural order of things when there's a when there's a third mic there. So that's something that I tend to be cognizant of. So yeah, but normally I just create the show notes and then text it to Liz, and then we come up with a time where we can get together and record, and that's how it goes.
Sometimes it goes sideways because we're supposed to do a teacher spotlight. And the last two times we've had the exact same teacher spotlight because we don't talk about it beforehand. And so then that's supposed to take up some time, but it didn't because same person.
That's true. That is true. So I guess I'll have to tell you my teacher spotlight ahead of time for the next recording.
Before I let you two get out of here, and we'll start with you, Liz, what's one thing about you that maybe a lot of people don't know that you wish more people knew, if anything?
Mm. I'm. Kind of feel like I'm a pretty open book, but um, we my my family, my husband, we are. It's kind of funny that I'm on a podcast because when it's the four of us, we're a pretty quiet family. Like it's very calm. We laugh a lot, but it's a pretty calm, not loud out there. But I mean, maybe that I lived in Africa for 2 years, and my plan is to retire there, when we wrap all this up and the kids are grown and flown.
Okay, that's one place that I haven't been to yet that I want to go to. And you lived there for 2 years. What was that experience like for 2 years?
Well, it was Peace Corps, and it was in Cape Verde off the West Coast, and the best people, kindest folks. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to take the family back 2 years ago, and we stayed there for a month. And the kids were like, "We let's just live here." Like it was so incredible. Incredibly safe. Like talk about the freedom we had when we were little. I mean, I could just let them wander all over, and people would just eventually bring them back to us, when it was starting to get dark. Just catching fresh fish and eating it right there. You know, all kinds of pickup games, and just again, it's all like a that all the real true hospitality that we have in the South is from Africa. Like full stop. Because talk about if you pass by somebody and don't wave or give the proper greeting, then they call you names and say, "You think what? You're too good to stop." And so you have to be very cognizant of how you treat the community, and
Hmm.
it makes to me it just makes for a much healthier existence. Just everybody's looking out for everybody. You're on everybody else's radar because they're on yours. It's that small town vibe.
That's yeah. That's one of the things that we're missing a lot of is just that everybody taking care of everybody. And I understand that people get busy and things like that, but just the how you doing, hello, that sort of thing. And I blame it. I mean, we were already going there, but it seems like when the pandemic happened, it just really pushed everybody to be kind of to themselves.
Mhm.
And, we're still feeling the residuals of that. And I just wish that, especially like right now, we would just get back to just seeing. other people as like human beings, and everybody just like, hey, we all have our stuff that's happening, but you can still take the time to be kind to somebody, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And also, this drive to, if you're not growing, you're dying when it comes to business or capitalism or any of those things, their definition of success is just completely different. Like if one person's successful, what a shame that that person didn't share. Like that's a point of shame, not pride. Um, the only reason you would want to be successful is so that you could lift other people up. And the fact that our society is so bent on the opposite of that in a lot of ways, um, it's an interesting juxtaposition to see the way to do it both ways.
Yeah. Um, Danny, what about you? What's one thing, if anything, that because you have what, 4 podcasts that
Yeah.
maybe that maybe not many people know that you wish more people knew?
Oh, goodness. And it's just the timing of that question because I put out an episode of Since We Last Spoke where I shared 8 things that people really didn't know about me. So I'm trying to think of some other things. Um, Goodness gracious. I did aspire to be a stuntman at one point in my life when I was a little kid. I will say that
Really?
because
Yeah.
yeah, because they used to have them Evil Knievel specials on Wide World of Sports on the weekends. So that one, that thing, I tell you, you talk about a man that really just poisoned my brain to be just a little too adventurous. It's a lucky I didn't break any bones because the dumb things that I did with that BMX bike, I yeah,
Me
it was
too.
yeah, that might be another podcast episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm calling. I hate Evil Knievel.
Good. Nice. Nice. Okay. Before I let you two get out of here, let the people know how they can find your podcast, get in contact with you, or any information you want to share.
Well, you can find the podcast on all streaming platforms. It's entitled Growing Up Lowcountry with Liz and Danny. You can also find the videos that Terrence was talking about on my YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to my YouTube channel at Danny Foxworth 843, and you can find videos for every single episode of Growing Up Lowcountry with Liz and Danny. And you can find me on IG at Danny Foxworth 843. And yeah, that's all I got.
And yeah, if you need a new mattress, come see me because we build them here in Charleston at the Charleston Mattress, thecharlestonmattress.com.
Okay. Well, Liz and Danny, thank you both so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate that. I really enjoyed this conversation, and man, like I'm smiling from ear to ear because growing up low country, man. I love the show, and I love the memories that you all bring back when I listen to your show. So thank you again. And to my listeners, as always, remember, keep pushing forward.
Thanks, Terrence.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.